Hello again, and welcome back. Today we'll be listening to 4 new scary stories from Reddit. You can check the original posts from the description of this video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for regular uploads of true scary stories and creepypastas. With that out of the way, let's start with the stories. Please, someone, anyone, help me. By potato_pies. Help. I need help. Hopefully someone can see where I'm sending this from. I really don't know if this message will make it, but it's my last hope. I'm hiding, expecting to die, and I really need someone here. Even if I do die, I just don't want to die alone. This all started when I was 4. A long time ago, I know. I always knew there was something wrong with the vanity my mother insisted on putting in my room. It was passed down through generations of my family, so we knew where it came from, what it had seen, what could have possibly lurked within it. But nothing could have prepared me for what came out of it this afternoon. At 28, I still live with my parents. I have no choice with the rent prices these days. They're busy packing up to move to Florida and retire, and they're down in Florida now, touring their new home. I have no idea what I'm going to do when they're gone. They made it clear I can't come with them. They made it clear they're leaving me behind, with that vanity. I think they can feel it too. None of us have ever felt comfortable around this vanity. Maybe that's why it was always shoved into my room. I was the youngest, so I got forgotten quite a bit. My room was the only one my dad never fixed up in the house. I lived perpetually with school bus yellow walls and an ugly salt and pepper carpet, staring into the sunny abyss, and just hoping they would remember me, so my decor could change. But they weren't the ones who were paying attention to me. I began to hear a whisper at 12 years old. I remember it vividly, because my middle school mind ran myself ragged, thinking of reasons why the whisper might be there. I remember watching Avatar: The Last Airbender's premiere with my brother, and when he went up to bed, I felt empowered to try and contact the spirit world in an attempt to set whoever plagued me free. Free from my home, so they could rest in peace. I was inexperienced, and I was desperate. But nothing set my tormentor free that night. And still, 16 years later, I hear the whispers. I feel the hair rise on my neck every night as I try to fall into a nightmareless sleep, and know there are so many eyes on me, just staring, waiting, for something to happen. I tried freeing the spirit again and again and again. I tried banishing the spirit. I tried covering up the mirror. I tried every trick in the book. Nothing could convince this entity to leave me alone. And the more I tried, the more whispers there were. We were bound. They began to follow me to school, causing odd things to happen to people in my presence. At first something fell off my vanity, in private, so no one could see. But then unexplainable things began to happen all around me, causing other kids to steer clear. I was the weird girl. I was the cursed one. If you spent too much time around me, you just might die. That's what happened to my best friend, and what kicked off the rumors. I was having a sleepover at her house. We had just finished playing COD Zombies, and I won once again, feeling on top of the world, feeling safe, away from the vanity. But just as that safety began to settle in, like the entities could feel it, the lights began to flicker. The whispers began, not directed toward me. I couldn't tell what was being said, but by the look in Savannah's eyes, I could tell they were speaking directly to her. And they weren't saying anything good. Next thing I knew, Savannah shot up, a glassy, glazed look in her eye. She sprinted up the stairs and I followed. She ripped open her patio door and sprinted out into the darkness, never to be seen again. I haven't seen her, but I've heard her. Her voice has joined the symphony of whispers in my ear. Never sleeping, never relenting. Always urging me to do terrible things. But I can't. I won't. Today, as I was carefully curling my hair, a hand shot out from the mirror in the vanity, pale as the full moon, with grotesque claws, and grabbed hold of my curling iron, pressed it to my cheek and urged me to relent. To allow them to follow through with their plan. Their plan to escape from their eternal prison and wreak havoc on the world as we know it. They haven't told me details. They say I'm not trustworthy enough yet, but they escaped the mirror. There's dozens of them, urging me to let them out of the house. I can't do it, and as long as I don't, I'm trapped in here with them. I was never going to bother anyone with this, but it's now out of my hands. I don't want to be trapped here. I don't want to die here, alone, trying to keep them at bay. But worse than that, I've begun to feel the urge to listen to them. I've begun to feel them take over my consciousness and direct my actions. I'm scared. I'm worried I'm going to do something terrible. Please. Please, if any of you know any way to help, I need any ideas you have. I need to go now. They've come back upstairs. I know they're coming, and I don't have much time. If they convince me, then none of us have much time. Please help me. My grocery store has a secret tunnel in the basement. It never should have been found. By silsbyten. A low rumble in my stomach signaled the daily return of one of my greatest struggles. Dark chocolate. I've noticed that the craving seems to have its own inconvenient schedule. It always kicks in at around 11 o'clock p.m. This bad habit is why I frequent the creepiest and most awkward grocery store in town. For some reason, I only buy one bar of chocolate at a time. I tell myself that each bar will be the last, at least for a while, but almost every night I give in to temptation and go to Ponce Market. It's the only grocery store in my hometown that stays open past 11. Unfortunately, it does not have a self-checkout, and I'm forced to engage in a few minutes of uncomfortable small talk with the cashier. I've come to accept this as a fair punishment for my nightly walk of shame. However, my most recent trip there has me considering swearing off dark chocolate. Forever. Last Friday night, I was once again walking under the bright fluorescent lights, with my favorite brand of organic dark chocolate in hand. Despite the mild shame that always accompanies me on this errand, I was in good spirits. I had big plans of going back to my apartment, pouring a glass of wine, and reading a book under my absurdly heavy-weighted blanket. That might sound like a lame Friday night for a 23-year-old single woman, but what can I say? I'm an old soul and a bit of a nerd. I was so absorbed in thinking about the relaxing night ahead of me that I didn't even look at the old lady at the register until she had scanned my only item. "Is that all for you?" she said with a heavy accent. I could place it immediately. It was Castilian. My family is originally from Spain, and we go back to visit every summer. "Yes, that's all, thank you." "If you don't mind me asking, are you from Spain?" "Yes, I am, but I moved here when I was a young girl, much like you are now," she said. "Why did you move here?" "I wish I could move to Spain, it's so romantic there. Believe me, the grass is always greener on the other side. It doesn't matter where you're at. What matters is youth and beauty, and you have both in spades," she said. "That's very sweet of you, thank you. Don't let them slip away from you, or one day you'll be on my side of the counter." "Nonsense, you're beautiful, don't talk about yourself like that." No, it's true. I'm old and withered. When a flower is full of life, it's proudly displayed for all to see, but when it fades and droops to the ground, it's tossed out and forgotten. It's just the way of the world. You're making me sad. There's more to life than just being young. Only someone who is in full bloom could say such a thing. Youth is all there is, it's life expressed as it should be. I struggled to find a response to her, as I found myself edging closer to the door. I don't mean to drone on about being a sad old lady, these ideas just run in my blood, I guess. Believe it or not, some of my ancestors came to America, in search of the fountain of youth a long time ago. Wow, that's interesting. I wish they'd found it. I'd take a drink. Maybe you can. What do you mean? Don't let me keep you if you need to go. I just get kind of lonely up here during the late shift. No, I'm in no rush. I said. I don't usually like talking to strangers this much, but she had honestly piqued my interest. Well, the house I live in was passed down to me from my parents. Their great-grandparents left it to them after they died. That's why my parents moved here in the first place. That house is one of the oldest in town. My ancestors built it by hand. Anyways, a few months ago I was having some remodeling done, and the construction crew discovered something unexpected during demolition. One of the floorboards in the living room was hollow. It always sounded funny when you'd step on it, but I never imagined it to be anything more than just another sound that an old house makes. What was inside of it? I asked. I'd completely forgotten about the chocolate at this point. My family's crest was on the bottom of the board, and inside was a letter written in Spanish to Queen Isabella, signed only by the name Gabriel. He said he'd found the fountain of youth. I don't know who Gabriel was, but obviously, that letter never found its way to the Queen. That's incredible. Have you looked for it? You should tell somebody. This sounds like something that would be on TV. Yes, I have looked for it, and between you and me, I found it. Where is it? Believe it or not, it's beneath this store. That's why I got this job, so I could keep watch up here, while my nephew took care of the location and excavation of the entrance. You're kidding, right, Dot? No, I'm telling you the truth. In a utility closet in the basement is the entrance to a tunnel that leads to an underground pool. My nephew was able to locate the void by drilling holes in the walls, and using some kind of instrument that contractors use to test compaction. Just last week, he found it. He knocked down the wall, dug a few feet, and there it was. He built a hidden door in the wall of the utility closet, to keep it hidden. I feel like this is some kind of practical joke, but I'll play along. Did you drink out of it? No, I haven't. I'm sure it's just superstition, but there were other things down there too. Words carved into the walls, and a sizable amount of gold. As she said this, she pulled a Spanish doubloon out of her purse and handed it to me. I turned it over in my hand, feeling the weight of it. Would you like to see the fountain? She asked. Yes, I would. My gut was screaming at me not to go, but let's be honest, I have a hard time overcoming the temptation of chocolate, much less buried treasure. I followed the old woman downstairs, and she led me to a closet door at the far corner of the basement. Just as she'd said, there was a hidden entrance built into the back wall. She pushed it and the whole thing swung inwards. I was stunned. I got my phone out and flipped the light on. She did the same with hers, and we walked inside. The air was cool and surprisingly fresh, but I could feel the humidity increase as we walked down a gentle curling slope. The narrow tunnel suddenly opened into a large circular room, and my light shimmered off the surface of a small pool at the center of it. The water had a strange yellow tint that grew in intensity as I shined my light directly into it. Gold coins lined the bottom of the pool. "This is amazing," I said. "You can have some of the coins, if you want, but you'll have to jump in to get them." Something in the tone of her voice made me hesitate. This didn't make any sense. Why had she really brought me down here? If her and her nephew already knew about the gold, why would they leave it at the bottom of the pool? I took a step back and my heel landed on someone else's foot. Long skinny fingers grabbed my shoulders and pushed me towards the water's edge. "What are you doing?" "Stop!" I yelled. I leaned back into them with all of my strength, but it wasn't going to be enough. The water was inching closer. I remembered that my purse was hanging from my shoulder. I fumbled through it, thanking God for an overprotective dad. He'd insisted that I keep a taser with me everywhere I go. In one quick motion I pulled it out of my purse and jammed it into the assailant's ribcage. I pulled the trigger and the man grunted as his grip loosened. I was able to duck to the side, and as I did the man tripped over my feet and fell forward into the pool. I assumed it would be her nephew, but he was much older than I had expected. The old woman screamed and lunged at me, so I tossed her too. She went rigid and fell backwards, knocking herself out on the stone floor. I looked back at the old man in the water and was horrified to see his transformation. He had aged 30 years in a matter of seconds. His sunken, helpless eyes stared into mine as they grew cloudy and still. He continued to shrivel away and rapidly mummified until all that was left were clean white bones that sunk to the bottom of the pool. I ran to the entrance of the tunnel, where my cell service returned, and called the police. While I waited for them to get there, I remembered the engravings that the old lady had mentioned. I ran back down to the pool and found them on the stone wall. They were in Spanish, which I can't read very well, so I took a picture and put it into Google Translate when the police finally let me go home. The engravings read as follows: "The fountain is not what it seems, it is cursed. It can't replenish youth, all it can do is transfer it. If a man gets in the pool, his life is stolen from him, and if another man drinks from the pool, he takes the stolen youth for himself. Even this is not as it seems. Drinking from the fountain changes a man. You become crooked, youthful in appearance, but corrupt of heart." Lather, rinse, repeat. By TheSuperAbsurdist. I wash the grease out of my brown curls daily, because unlike those trendy hippies, with their hair dyes and tattoos, I like to keep it simple. The shampoo and my fingers are all I need to look pretty much okay. I grab the bottle of shampoo from my rack of toiletries, and tip a good amount into my palm, just as the model in the TV commercial had done it. I read the instructions on the shampoo bottle. Lather, rinse, repeat. I make a tune out of the process, adding a jazzy mix and singing it out loud, as warm water descends on my hair, and I smooth out the shampoo onto the layers of thick curls. One glance at the bottle of shampoo and it looks like a bottle of blood, in its bright red shade. I think, quite a weird color choice for a shampoo brand. Anyway, I repeat the tune and scrub diligently so that it lathers on my scalp. As my fingers scrub and scratch for proper washing, I feel a gentle pull, almost an itch on the scalp, so I scrub harder. Lather, rinse, repeat, I sing. While I wash, the itching worsens and the aching triggers. I feel strands of hair pull away from my scalp like wool and fall to the shower floor. Lather, rinse, repeat, I sing faster, and my hands move on their own accord, more rapacious with the passing time. My heartbeat fastens with the urge to wash, and I tug harder at the strands of hair, pulling them out of the scalp in reckless abandon. My fingers bore into my scalp like nails and dig out the layer of thick skin with blood and pieces of bone, still washing. I think of calling out for help, but my lips have synchronized with the procedure and nothing else agrees to be uttered. Blood and hair strands cover my face and hands as I keep scrubbing. I cannot freaking stop myself. My scalp wears thin until I begin to feel the hollows of my skull poking out from within. The skin on my fingers tear open and bleed as I scrub harder and harder. My fingers soon become pale bones rubbing against the bones in my head. I feel the glue binding my brain to my skull wash away. Chunks of brain slip to the floor with a thud as my hands keep scrubbing. Lather, rinse, repeat. After a while, I rinse and then I lather again and again. My hands fail to rebuke this continuity and the floor has already become a puddle of my blood in which hair and flesh are floating about it. When I try forcing my hands away from my scalp, my head bashes itself against the wall. I try again and my head bounces off the wall in quick successions. I decide to end the horror show myself, ramming my head against the tiled wall in one final blow. Splat. Kitazato Shigeru and Mikata Katsuya. Witness Tales. By Just-Jotaro. Thank you for watching NHK. It is 6:45 a.m. And now to the missing people's case. Tsuchikawa Etsuko. Age 45. A tired office worker. She was last seen at a local July 11th. Buying some nishi ramen, before driving off with a Volga Galeen. KW 0971. She has long black hair. And at time of her missing, she was wearing a black and white suit. If you have seen her, her car, or have any more informations about her whereabout, please report it. We have gained info now that Mohammed Al-Gay is found alive. He just decided to take a boat to Okinawa. But the register forgot to add him, hence the report about him going missing. His son, Abdul, can now legally join him back. Arita Shozo. We don't know if they are male or female. But we do know Arita was last seen taking a bus, along with two other students, Kitazato Shigeru and Mikata Katsuya. We will explain them later on. Anyways. By the time of them disappearing, Arita was wearing a uniform, similar to that of St. Julian's High School, and along with that, a lemur plushie. Possibly belonging that to the same high school, and has long black hair. And now, to the other two. Mikata Katsuya, just like Arita, we don't know about the gender, but it's better if we use feminine pronouns, and mix it with gender-neutral pronouns. Mikata was last seen at the beach with Shigeru at that time, wearing the same St. Julian's uniform, but has long brown hair and has green eyes. Kitazato Shigeru. He is a man. Who was last seen at the beach with Mikata. We have now gained new information, that it was just the two of them. A third figure, possibly of Cree-Canadian origins, was along with them. We now give the third figure an anonymous name, Mike Tethawap. We do not know a lot of them. So if you have any more information of this Mike Thawap person, please contact us. The police of Tokyo will bless you if they found him. Tape 1. Part 1. January 1st, 1987. What's your name, Miss? Etsuko. It's been stated that you went missing since 1984? 1985? Correct. The commies took me. Commies? As in, communists? This isn't a joke. It's stated that you have connections with Katsuya. Oh, sorry. But yes. We do have connections. Okay, then are you family related? Or friends? Are you her mother? Older sister? Niece? Tell me. Etsuko. Tell me. I said, tell me. She is my foster daughter. We have now gained info that Tsuchikawa Etsuko was found at December 31st, 1986. Turns out, she got kidnapped by a Soviet and is now going on to some therapy at Tsukami Co. The job she works at would apologize for not really doing anything. Hello? Is anyone there? I feel so lonely here. What is happening? I don't know. Why is my mascara black? I feel so weird. Is Katsuya here? That's all for today. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share it with your friends and family. If you have any crazy story that you would like to share on my channel, send an email at horrorexperiencemedia@gmail.com. You can find it in the description box too. With that, this video ends here, and I'll see you in the next one.